She was just his assistant, until love changed everything. Heartwarming romance. Ethan Carter was a man known for his brilliance, leadership, and strength. As the CEO of Carter Global Industries, a multinational empire that had built its reputation on innovation, he was an icon in the corporate world. He was a man who had everything: wealth, power, and, most importantly, love. His wife, Elena, had been the light of his life, his rock, his confidant. Together, they had a beautiful daughter, Lily, a delicate little girl born with sickle cell anemia. But one fateful day, Ethan's world came crashing down. A tragic accident stole his wife Elena from him, leaving him a broken man. The pain was unbearable, suffocating. Without her, the world lost its color, and he lost his purpose. The once vibrant CEO became a shadow of himself. He neglected his company, his health, and even his precious daughter. Late nights at the office turned into nights spent drinking in solitude. He became a regular at high-end bars, drowning himself in whiskey, trying to silence the unbearable ache in his chest. His office became a mess, his decisions reckless, and his empire began to tremble. The board whispered in hushed voices about his decline. Employees exchanged worried glances, afraid that the company would crumble under his grief. But one person refused to give up on him: Isabel Hayes, his personal assistant. Isabel was more than just a personal assistant, she was a force of nature. Smart, dedicated, and strikingly beautiful, she had been the silent pillar behind Ethan's success. She had always admired his vision and his drive, but now, she watched helplessly as the man she respected fell apart before her eyes. One night, she found him slumped over his desk, the sharp scent of alcohol filling the room. His tie was loosened, his once perfectly tailored suit crumpled. He looked nothing like the Ethan Carter she knew. "Mr. Carter, you can't keep doing this to yourself," she murmured, shaking his shoulder. He groaned, his blue eyes dazed and unfocused. "There's nothing left, Isabel. Nothing matters anymore." Her heart clenched. She couldn't bear to see him like this. Without another word, she helped him up, half dragging him to her car. That night, she took him home, made sure he was comfortable, and stayed by his side until the morning. It wasn't the last time. Time and again, she found herself being the one to pick up his broken pieces. Whether it was dragging him from bars, making sure he ate something, or ensuring his daughter got the love she deserved, Isabel was there. And Lily noticed. Lily was fragile but wise beyond her years. At just 8 years old, she had experienced too much pain, losing her mother, watching her father slip away. But then, Isabel entered her world like a warm ray of sunshine. She didn't just care for Ethan, she cared for Lily too. She read her bedtime stories when her father was too lost in grief, she held her when the pain of her illness became too much, and she filled the house with laughter that had long since disappeared. One evening, Lily looked up at her father with her big, expressive eyes and said, "Daddy, I want Ms. Isabel to stay with us forever." Ethan was taken aback. He had known that Lily adored Isabel, but he hadn't realized just how much. "Sweetheart, she has her own life," he said softly. Lily pouted. "Then ask her to live with us." And so, Ethan made a request that surprised even himself. Isabel hesitated when Ethan invited her to spend the weekend at his home. She wasn't just his assistant, she had a life outside of him. A boyfriend, if he could even be called that. Jake's, her boyfriend, was controlling and dismissive. He never appreciated her, never valued her the way she deserved. He saw her as convenient, not precious. But when she looked at Ethan, at Lily, she saw something different. She saw love, even if Ethan didn't realize it yet. She accepted. That weekend was unlike anything she had experienced before. It wasn't just about helping Ethan and Lily, it was about feeling at home. They cooked together, played board games, and for the first time in a long while, Ethan laughed. A real, deep, genuine laugh. He found himself watching her, mesmerized by her kindness, her beauty, her patience. And slowly, something in his broken heart began to heal. Ethan Carter had always known that Isabel was beautiful. But in the confines of his office, surrounded by contracts and corporate demands, he had kept his admiration restrained. She was his assistant, his right hand, his support system, the one person who understood him better than most. But now, here, in the intimacy of his home, away from the constraints of professionalism, he saw her differently. She wasn't just efficient. She wasn't just kind. She was breathtaking. Her golden brown eyes held warmth and understanding. Her laughter filled the house with a joy he hadn't felt in years, and the way she moved, graceful, confident, unintentionally alluring, was enough to make his pulse quicken. Ethan found himself drawn to her in ways he hadn't expected. He would catch himself watching her as she tied her hair into a messy bun, revealing the elegant curve of her hips. He would listen too intently to the sound of her voice, mesmerized by its melody. He noticed the way her lips curved when she smiled at Lily, the way her hands, delicate yet strong, held his daughter with such tenderness. And it was driving him mad. He wanted to say something, to tell her how much her presence meant to him. But every time the words formed on his tongue, caution held them back. She was his employee, his trusted assistant. He had no right to ask for more. Yet, every moment she spent in his home, she made it feel like a place of warmth and comfort again. One evening, as they sat together in the living room after putting Lily to bed, the air between them grew thick with something unspoken. Isabel was curled up on the couch, barefoot, a soft throw draped over her legs. She looked so effortlessly beautiful, so at home. Ethan sat beside her, his heart pounding as he finally whispered, "Isabel, can you be by my side?" She turned to him, her eyes searching his. "I am by your side, Ethan." He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. That wasn't what he meant. He wanted to tell her that he needed her, not just as his assistant, not just as someone who helped him through the grief, but as a woman. As someone he longed for in ways he was afraid to admit. But he held back. Instead, he reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Thank you, for everything." She smiled, but he could see the question in her eyes, the curiosity about what he wasn't saying. The weekend passed too quickly. Isabel's presence had filled the house with something intoxicating, something Ethan wasn't ready to let go of. When she finally left, the emptiness was unbearable. That night, he sat in his dimly lit study, a glass of whiskey in his hand, but the alcohol did nothing to dull the thoughts of her. He could still hear her laughter echoing in the hallways. He could still smell the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. She had left, but she had taken a part of him with her. Days passed, and the more he tried to focus on work, the harder it became.